I'm wearing socks out in the garage. I love the spontaneous torture of finding the little burrs from the wire wheels. Hello, welcome back to BuildBoostDrive. It is about 2:30 in the morning, a little after. I should be asleep. That never happens. But I'm bored. I'm gonna get some work done on the car, even though it's late. I'm basically just gonna start off with getting the crossmember back in, getting the engine fully held in there, getting all the mounts all bolted up, because right now it's just hanging on the engine mount and the transmission mount. It's the only thing holding it up right now. So we'll get it locked in. Then I'll probably just go for the other drivetrain parts from there. I'll attach the transfer case, the axles, and the front suspension, get that all put back together before I move on to the all the accessories on the engine harness, radiator, intake, everything else. So we'll get started on that and get that done, and we'll be on our way to getting this car started. Yes. So just going over torque specs, these two bolts are going to be 68 foot-pounds. The engine mount is 42 foot-pounds with the car on the ground and the engine bolted down to it. But once the car is level and everything, you torque it down to 42 foot-pounds according to the factory service manual. And then the two bolts that go through the arm supports, those are 58 foot-pounds. So hopefully I can find those bolts. I'm not quite sure where they are yet. Now I'm running Avid mounts, as I've mentioned before, and the last time we put an engine in, it was quite difficult to get them all hooked up. So I'm going to try to get a bolt through this one on the cross member, and then I'm going to try to bolt the cross member up to the actual chassis and see if it goes a lot smoother that way. Because once I got the driver's side and the transmission mounts bolted up and the front transmission mount bolted up, the rear one just went right in, no problem. But they don't have a lot of play in them, which is kind of their point. Hopefully it'll go a lot smoother this time. So 68 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and get the transfer case slid up on there. That way it's just out of the way of the other cross member bolts. Put a little grease on the shaft. You wouldn't want to fight this. rusty and dry. I've seen them that way. They don't like to come off easily. Let's see if it'll behave easily today. Oh, I've forgotten how heavy they can be. Use those new gains. There we go. Get one of these guys in so it doesn't fall on me. Be a bad day. I was honestly expecting some spiders to run away from the wood that was holding up the transfer case. It's always spiders. Now I've just got to locate the bolts. The back 2 bolts for the cross member. Alright, found the bolts. Just gotta get last 2 in for the cross member. We'll be done with this. A little bit of Loctite. Yeah. Two. What I say on these, 54 foot-pounds. Woo! There's a cross member. So the cross member is officially in, and I went ahead and got the bolts in for the engine mounts, so our torque mounts are officially in and locked down. I need to make sure the transmission mount is good to go, make sure they're torqued, and the engine mount. Whew. So I just got to get the transfer case all torqued down, and then can start putting stuff back into the engine bay. So we got a bunch of goodies. We got a 110 amp alternator, and where'd it go? I also ordered some Evo injectors that are supposedly cleaned and good to go. They just need some new gaskets, which I actually have an extra set. So that'll be good. They are 560cc injectors. There's the flow report. And that'll help the 16G breathe a little better. No fuel cut. So I can push it just a little bit more than it needs to. So I just gotta get one of the fuel rails cleaned up and put on. Slowly shaping up. Well, it's the next day, so I think we left off at the transfer case, so we're gonna go ahead and finish that up. That should be 43 foot-pounds torque on those 5 bolts, so we'll get that on and then we'll move on to the axles and the suspension. Now all the transfer case bolts are nice, new and shiny. I got these, I do believe, on Extreme PSI. You can get them as a set, replacing the older rusty ones. So the usual, just blue Loctite, 43 foot-pounds, and we're gonna get it on here. crap. I'm wearing socks out in the garage. I love the spontaneous torture of finding the little burrs from the wire wheels. But that's besides the point. From the last time we were looking at this, we kind of went on a little hiatus, but I think I was putting the suspension back in and transfer case and all that. Well, I really just wanted to get to the grind and get everything back together. So Tyler came over and we literally just threw it back together. And I was gonna get a video of the first startup, but when we went to get some sound out of it, it literally started right up, nearly perfect other than a high idle. So that went to, yeah, came together pretty quickly and just did what she was supposed to for the most part. But a lot of stuff that happened between then and now. For one, we forewent the alternator relocation just to make it easy. I didn't realize I was going to have to extend one of the cables. I didn't think about it when I rewired the harness. So next time when we're moving on to the 46.4, I'm going to do that. I'm still using the bracket back there just as the spacer for the intermediate shaft. But for now, it's going to sit there. I don't have to worry about the power steering leaking on it, so there's that. Got the valve cover just repainted, looks cleaner now. That looks all nice. One of the main issues we ran into is the same issue we ran into on the other engine. The idle didn't want to go anywhere below 1500, 1500. And we probably messed with it for 2 days. We threw in an older throttle body and we got that one dialed in and it worked pretty good on that one. And we found that we were probably setting things wrong. We were shooting for numbers that just didn't work out. On DSM Link, when you're setting the TPS, everybody says to look for a 0.63, and that's with the spacer, I'm not sure where it is. Oh, there it is. I think it was a 0.177 that you put. Yeah, so here's the stop screw for the throttle plate. And what you do is you put the 0.177 between there and the throttle, and you search for that 0.63 volt and link. Well, no matter, even when doing that, we just were not getting the right idle out of it. I think the idle would sit at like 12 or 13. So we found a different number, which is the closed plate position, which is 0.43 or 41. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But once we put in 0.41, we got the idle in perfect. And it's like, well, maybe that's what was maybe that was what was going on with my rebuilt throttle body that I put together. I thought I'd maybe just messed up on it. So we took out this one, which came off the GST, and we threw in my rebuilt one. It's got, you know, new shaft bearings and gaskets and everything. And we did the same thing, set it to 41, 43. Somewhere in that area, and it idled perfectly. We got it down to, I think it sits between 750 and 800. And while it idles, it's give or take about 100 RPMs. So that came out really good. The whole engine ran great. No bad leaks or anything. Other than there's a screw on the back of the block. It is for the bout shaft. I don't know if I have enough No, I don't have enough. Yay, we got like. Alright, so the only real odd leak we first ran into was this hole right here. And that's just for investigating the bounce shaft, because the rear bounce shaft can be 180 out if you're running bounce shafts. But of course we deleted them on that engine. Well, neither one of us got a bolt in there on that block, and so we're having an odd oil issue. We thought it was just coming from the open steering rack. Got no light down there. But yeah, so we lost a lot of oil with it just spitting out there, I guess. So I just got to get a bolt in there before we start back up again, get some more oil in it.